What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Gsluke here for our round 3 showdown picks for the US Open. Gonna go quickly through the weather for tomorrow, talk about my favorite players, player pool, ownership, strategy, pretty much everything you need to know to get ready for Saturday's single round slate. So let's go ahead and start it off quick with a review through the first 2 rounds, which for me in DFS has been a really solid week. I mean, going into the weekend, I'm in one of the best positions I've been in quite some time. It's not like I've had, 30, 40 sets of 6 of 6 lineups. I only have, 7 in my main 150 pool. And then my main GPP lineup, or the single entry lineup for GPPs, is also a 6 of 6. It's that the field has less than 2%, right? Depending on what GPP you're in, it's anywhere between 0.7% and 1.5% in terms of 6 of 6 percentage. So I can't complain from that front. I mean, if we're going to have a solid amount more than the field, I have guys like Colin Morikawa 30% this week, John Rahm 30%. I mean, Scotty Scheffler, another guy, took right around 35%. I'm not going to hold that against me, right? It's a pretty solid position to be in. Down low, there's a few lineups that I have that aren't really killing me. I should say players down low that aren't killing me. Denny McCarthy at +3, a bunch of guys at like +1, even par. Gary Woodland comes to mind in that range that if they have a solid weekend, Hideki Matsuyama as well, I'm going to cash out a lot this week. So I'm excited for this weekend. At this point, I really only see room to go up. I mean, there's not really anybody that can sell me, go out there, have a horrible weekend. So things are looking up right here. So go ahead and see a few of you down there in chat. We got Robert down there. What's going on? Yeah, Showdown yesterday. We're going to talk about that here in a second. Was also absolute fire. On Prize Picks, we hit today. So had the trifecta. 4-round stuff went well for us today. Showdown did, and so did Prize Picks. Alex Hahn says, Steph Curry is a legend. I agree. I think he's one of the more underrated point guards in the entire NBA. Maxwell says, Hostler solid round today. Funny, a little help from a ricochet off the scoreboard. I saw that. That was really cool. I mean, when you get a break like that, you know it's going to be your day. I'm sure everyone out there that's a golfer knows that feeling where you get an insanely good break, and it's why you come back to the golf course, right? Obviously, there's a lot of bad breaks that happen in this sport, but whenever you get one of those good breaks, got to cherish them. You got to take advantage of it. So good for Matt. Good for Hostler. That was good to see for him. Anthony says, Gsluke, is Spieth a lock for you? He's not a lock for me, but yeah, you hit the nail on the head. He's in the player pool. He's 2 days removed from his stomach illness. He was able to make the cut at this event, and all systems going forward for Spieth are going to be good. I think we're going to be in a solid position. Rob says, Scheffler for the win. I agree. I hope he wins. I have an outright. And by the way, my outrights, I should say that too. I mean, this is just a solid week for me, I have to say. I mean, first off, Colin Morikawa outright, John Rahm outright. I have a Scotty Scheffler outright, Jordan Spieth, Patrick Cantlay, all of them made the cut, and a Brooks Koepka outright. All of them are in the top 25 except for Spieth and Cantlay, and all of them made the cut. So again, like it's going to be a fun weekend. Let's just say that. So let's go ahead and hop into tomorrow's slate. Enough talk about what we've done so far. And let's take a look at the round today. So the scoring average was right around 2 strokes over par, which was actually a lot lower than I expected. I thought it was going to be closer to 2.5, even 3 strokes over par. And a lot of that was due to the afternoon wave, because if we split it by wave, it played exactly like I expected it to in the morning. But in the afternoon, things changed. And what changed? What caused that difference there? It was down to the weather. It was a little bit of rain towards midday, which did make the greens a little bit more receptive, but more importantly, the wind completely died in the afternoon, which no one really expected from a weather forecast. And we also had humidity in the air. You probably heard on the TV the entire time that there was a good chance that, play was going to be canceled, or I shouldn't say canceled, postponed due to some thunder in the air, but it never ended up hitting the golf course. But with that cell going by, it brought in a lot of humidity. So you heard them talk about that on the broadcast. So on top of the little bit of precipitation that they got, you also had more receptive greens due to that front coming through. So the guys in the afternoon had much more receptive greens than the guys in the morning, which is usually the opposite of what we'd expect from any given round. Usually in the morning, the greens are going to be their most receptive, but that was not the case today. And it's not like I expected this to happen. It's not why I ended up having a solid day today. It was more just due to coincidence, right? I played it straight up yesterday. I wasn't really favoring an AM or a PM split. It's just that I don't want to say we lucked out by taking the right players, but by not focusing on the weather, we were able to get to the right type of plays. So I have this sorted by score. Morikawa was in the pool today, of course. I had like 50% of them in my lineups. John Rahm was right around 25%. Same thing with Scotty Scheffler. We had Hostler. We had Davis Riley, Brooks, Joel Damon. We had Patrick Rogers, Nick Hardy. We had Ju Young Kim, Brian Harmon. Just of the top 16 scorers of the slate, I had more than half of them. So that's why we had the solid day in Showdown. And these came from a variety of different waves. You had guys in the morning wave that played excellent, like a Scotty Scheffler. Of course, guys in the afternoon, like a Morikawa, John Rahm, were able to go out there and score well. And while there's a lot more guys from the afternoon wave that were on this top of the list, Brooks Koepka played in the morning wave, right? There was more than a handful of guys that were able to survive these quote unquote difficult conditions and still put up a ceiling score. So before hopping into the weather, even if we have a huge split for tomorrow, which I don't want to give it away yet, I'm not going to focus on it, right? Today, even with a stroke difference between the morning and the afternoon wave, it didn't matter. 3 or 4 of the optimal plays in our lineups came from the harder wave. So just don't overthink it when it comes to DFS. If you're playing 4-round lineups, I think weather might be a little bit more important than it is for Showdown. If you're trying to min cash, right, then play the wave advantage, right? You're going to get a lot more guys that shoot like -1 or even par if you were taking guys from the afternoon wave today. But if you're looking for those ceiling performances, right, we've kind of proved it with today that sometimes they can be a little bit immune to the weather. Now let's look at the weather for tomorrow. So it's relatively flat, kind of similar to what we saw here for Friday. On Saturday, even more so. It's in that 12 to 15 mile an hour range for the entire day. And in terms of the gusts, there's only an hour right around 9 to 10 a.m. where it's going to get slightly more severe than what it was before. So, the exact situation that we had today is what I'm going to go with for tomorrow. And I'm not expecting to see a shot difference between the morning and the afternoon, right? It was 2.5 strokes over par in the morning, 1.5 strokes in the afternoon. I'd expect it to play right around 2.5 strokes over par for the morning and the afternoon wave. So not going to be any type of huge weather consideration here for the third round, which is pretty consistent with what we did here for the second round. We'll hop into the player pool now. I'll also catch up on the chat before we hop into it. So let me go ahead and share my screen. We'll hop into the questions. Let's see what we got down here. We got Catch Me If You Can, dropping the jokes as per usual. Absolutely love it down there. He says, I got the official update. Spieth is diarrhea free. You love to hear it. He had a bold ass decision there on Thursday to wear white golf pants while having a stomach bug, which, I saw a few jokes on Twitter talking about that. That's a damn bold decision. You hit one swing, you turn a little bit too fast, you lit out a little short, something like that. He could have been a meme on TV for like 5-10 years if he had a little running stain down the back of his pants. So yeah, that's good that he's diarrhea free. All systems go for Jordan Spieth. Justin Wilson says my 5 of 6 lineups look so good. Yeah, this week 5 of 6 probably going to cash in most contests. And there's been a few times in the past where in smaller field GPPs, 5 of 6s have won some of the GPPs under difficult conditions. So don't write yourself out of it yet. Home Run Derby says, I was expecting more out of Taylor. I'm assuming you mean Taylor Gooch or maybe Nick Taylor. Not sure who you're talking about. A few Taylors in the field, even Taylor Montgomery out there. A bunch to choose from there. But Ray Flores says, I have a solid 6 of 6. Would you hedge tomorrow by fading those 6 players for Showdown? I'm definitely fading Sunday. I wouldn't for Saturday. I wouldn't overdo it. I know a lot of people will hedge some of their lineups, but even if you have a solid 6 of 6, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to cash with that lineup come the end of the week, right? You could have middling performances depending on what GPP you're in. You're going to need that actual ceiling performance, to take advantage of that sort of hedge. So I probably wouldn't. Maybe for Sunday, go ahead and hedge like you're saying, because you'll have a much better idea of your position. If you have a really solid Saturday and you really get into contention with that lineup, then maybe hedge on Sunday. But I wouldn't do it now. That'd be my personal advice. He said Taylor Montgomery, that makes sense. And Herman Derby says they'll probably play it safe tomorrow. I think a lot of players will, but the guys at the bottom of the leaderboard, they're going to go for it. They have nothing to lose. I'd expect the leaders to back up a little bit tomorrow. Barring something crazy from somebody like a Colin Morikawa, John Rahm, or Rory McIlroy. So I think a few of them will go for it, but those guys up top, yeah, you're right. You're going to shoot for the middle of greens. You're just going to try and hit fairways all day. And that's major championship golf at its finest. So I would certainly agree with you there. Beats says, Nick Hardy, yes, sir. Yeah, he absolutely went off today. Shot 3 under par. That was a great thing to wake up to. He was like -2 through his first 6 holes. I slept in a little bit, obviously. You're going to do that here on a Friday, and it was a great thing to wake up to. Cash Me If You Can says, I am for one looking to min cash in the 2020 entry. Hey, if you're min cashing in a $2,000 entry, that's not too bad about that, right? And Nick Mars says, how do you feel about Bryson? And yeah, I'm serious. I'm not a huge fan of Bryson. He's been hitting some greens. He's kind of just been getting himself along. I mean, I don't know. We didn't see enough from him either. I wasn't able to see how he was really hitting the ball. I'm just going to take a wait and see approach. If you want to play him as a pure low owned flyer because he's super cheap, I could see that, right? He's only $7,200. But there's a lot of other guys in the range that are also super underpriced. Like I like Terrell Hatton a whole lot. I like Mark Leishman. But yeah, I mean, you could do a whole lot worse than Bryson DeChambeau. Big beefy Bryson makes a ton of birdies. But I do worry about that wrist a little bit. Mightiest has LOL, Harley, and Buckley. Had him at the RBC last week, just not this week. Yeah, I had Harley this week. I had Buckley last week as well, at the Memorial, actually, where he missed the cut. But yeah, he's missed 6 of his last 7 cuts, Buckley. I think I played him in at least 4 or 5 of those missed cuts because I was trying to buy in on that ball striking prowess. And then I didn't play him this week. So I'm right there with you there, Helmuts, when it comes to the Buckley train. It seems like it happens like that sometimes, right? As soon as you jump off the train to somebody, they go out there and have that ceiling performance. But so it goes, is what it is. Let's talk through this player pool. So at the top of things, very similar strategy to yesterday. I'm not going to fully invest in these guys. There was, obviously quite a few lineups I had where I had Scotty Scheffler and Jon Rahm together. That ended up being one of the better combinations today. Had a few lineups that were more Kava plus a Jon Rahm, than filling out with a lot of those 8K guys. I'm going to be employing a similar strategy where it's just, a few shots on these guys up top. Hopefully JT goes out there, has a ceiling performance. Maybe it's Scotty Scheffler this time around, but I'm going to try and live in this 8K range. It was extremely favorable for us to do this today. And in terms of just building a well-rounded lineup that you can feel at least somewhat confident about shooting 2 to 3 under par at each spot is going to some of these guys in the 8K range. So DJ hit 14 of his 18 greens today. And this is the craziest stat I've seen on somebody for quite some time. Dustin Johnson missed 13 birdie putts from less than 25 feet today. In fact, he missed 5 putts from less than 10 feet today that didn't even touch the hole. So for Dustin Johnson, I mean, that's one of the worst putting performances he's had for quite some time. Lost over 3 strokes to the field just today with the flat stick. And in all the other categories, gained significantly off the tee, over a stroke off the tee and on approach today, even gained around the green. So if there's going to be a bounce back performance, I love getting into some of these Dustin Johnson lineups. So he's going to be relatively low owned. He's at -1. Teeing off in the first half of the day, which again, I don't think it's going to be a huge advantage. But if there's going to be any sort of advantage here for tomorrow, expect the morning to play maybe a little bit easier. So love myself some DJ. Jordan Spieth, they're $8,700. Given that he should be beyond his stomach problems, I'm going to buy in on him. He's a high birdie percentage player, very aggressive. And he's only $8,700 now, right? So super affordable. Guys like a Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, Max Homa, Joaquin Niemann, even Hideki Matsuyama are guys that should be like $9,500, maybe even $10,000 for some of these 4-round contests. I'm just going to try and play all of them in the same lineup, right? I'm guaranteed I'm going to have lineups that are going to have Jordan Spieth, DJ, and then Homa or one of these last two in terms of a Niemann or a Matsuyama, and then just 2 6K guys or whatever I could spend for my last 2 spots, because I don't see a huge difference in projection between the guys in this range and the guys at the top, right? You got like a 34, 35 point projection on some of these guys here at the top of the 8K range. And it's like a 38 point projection, a 40 point projection at the very most for some of these guys up top, which is just a singular birdie, which obviously with the extreme variance that we have here with Showdown, that could easily go one way or the other. So that's why I'm living in this 8K range. The guys that I will be kind of sprinkling in, Will Zalatoris, an extremely hot iron player, can get hot with the putter in a hurry. I'll be getting to some Scotty Scheffler once again. I absolutely love him this week. He's my pick to win this golf tournament. And Justin Thomas too. I don't have him for my 4-round stuff, but if there's somebody who can get hot with the putter in a hurry, kind of similar to a Will Zalatoris, just lean on that approach play. Both of them elite level approach players. That's why I like getting to those guys. Rory McIlroy is just an ownership fade. He was super high owned today, and I'd expect that to continue based on the fact that he made 5 birdies, is still towards the top of the leaderboard. And kind of like a Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy always is much higher owned than you'd expect. if you just like took the name aside. Like, right, if we got rid of the name over here and we were running analysis, just looking at his shots, gain metrics, his modeling, all that sort of fun stuff, we'd probably project McIlroy for about half the ownership that he actually is. But as soon as we add the little tag here, Rory McIlroy, double the ownership, right? He's similar for a Ricky Fowler, a Jordan Spieth, even Tiger Woods, right? Take the ownership you expect them to be at add at least 5 to 10%, if not double that number, and that's what you're going to get. So I'll be fading Rory McIlroy, the home favorite. Colin, I'll be fading, right? He's in first place. That's great. I love it for my 4-round stuff. But I don't expect him to go out there and have a ceiling performance 2 days in a row. So another player is going to be like 50% owned. I have 50% ownership on Colin and Rory McIlroy there. So just pretty straightforward fades for me. That's my strategy in Showdown, is always to fade the chalk. So I can fit in even more players to my pool. I won't be playing Matt Fitzpatrick. I think he's just a little bit too conservative for my liking. We talked about these 8K guys a whole lot there. Sam Burns is only out of my pool because of ownership, right? I'd rather take the 50% of lineups that I'm allocating to Sam Burns and spread that over guys like a Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, and Max Homa. Essentially, by not playing Burns, I can play 2 or even 3 of the other guys in this 8K range as a substitute. So that's what we're doing with up top, some of the pivots that I'm going to. Patrick Cantlay made the cut on the number. He doesn't excite me all that much, but, kind of similar to a Sam Burns, I could see the play, right? He's underpriced, just like all the other guys in this range. Just I'd prefer to get some of the players that are looking a little bit sharper to this point. Brooks Koepka, I hope you guys played his ass today. Was unbelievable with his ball striking. He looks like the Brooks Koepka of 4 years ago. And I told you before the round started that I was going to bet him outright, which I did. I got 250 to 1 on Brooks. I bet him 55 to 1 before the week to win this golf tournament. What do you think his number is now? If anybody knows, and if you go ahead and check it right now, I can tell you it's not 55 to 1 anymore. He's much lower than 55 to 1 at this point. Dave Books have come around on Brooks. Obviously, he's came around with his score there at even par. He goes out there and does what he did today once again, shoots, 4 under par, 3 under par, whatever he shot today. He could very well be within 1 or 2 shots of the lead. So I'm riding that Brooks Koepka train. That thing we saw him fix with his swing on Thursday, the reason why we played him so significantly today, carried throughout the entire day today. It was evident. He was crushing the ball off the tee. He was hitting irons there to 5 to 10 feet. And his putter wasn't even all that solid. He missed plenty of putts out there that he could have made. I'm extremely bullish on him going forward. He, like I said, he looks healthy for once, and that is a huge thing for Brooks. Davis Riley, high birdie percentage player, always willing to get him in Showdown here. Same thing with Seamus Power. We're now here in the 7K range, so obviously a little bit more affordable. We're talking about maybe like my 5th or 6th man in here. Because I'm being so aggressive up top, I shouldn't say because I'm not being so aggressive up top, right? Because I'm not going studs and duds this week. I'm going to be taking a lot of guys in the top of the 7K range. So Gary Woodland, another player that I'm taking. Patrick Reed, solid around the green player. Maybe gets the hot putter work in here, can put up 3 or 4 birdies. Adam Scott, another player who can get super hot with the flat stick. Mark Leishman, great out of a rough and a very volatile player. So I like getting to him, a little bit of a risk-reward type of play. Same thing with Sebastian Munoz, another aggressive player who's probably going to shoot, 3-4 over par or perhaps something like 3-4 under par. So love him in these large field GPPs. KH Lee at $7,000, another guy I'll have plenty of exposure to. Cameron Chingale is always going to be a Showdown play. The guy just makes more birdies than anybody else. Kind of reminds me of a Peter Malnati. Minwoo Lee. We've played him in Showdown like almost every time he's been on the slate. And he's going to have, kind of like a Sebastian Munoz, a lot of rounds where he blows up, shoots like 3-4 over par. But he is so streaky with that flat stick where, he has a ton of rounds where it's, 4-5 under par. So hopefully we get the positive end of that volatility. We'll be teeing off early in the morning and super cheap, right? $6,500, 0.3% owned. So you're talking about marginal ownership at best on him. Ju Young Kim, at $6,400. He had a solid day, was in our pool for today, but he's not going to be chalk, right? So, he had that ceiling performance today, but I don't expect a ton of people to get to him. So a little bit more willing to play that ceiling performance if he's going to be low owned. And the last guy in our player pool at $6,200. And really, I'm only using Brandon Matthews, Ju Young Kim, and guys like Minwoo Lee when I'm taking multiple of the guys up top, right? Let's say I'm taking a lineup where I take JT and Will Zalatoris together. I'm going to accomplish that by taking somebody like a Brandon Matthews, a Ju Young Kim, or somebody like a Minwoo Lee. Brandon Matthews, long off the tee, has the iron play we're looking for, has been really solid on the Korn Ferry Tour this year, will be on the PGA Tour next year, as early as next year there. So I'll be thinking in those type of lineups, but it's going to be in like 1 or 2 of my 20 lineups, right? I'm not going to have 6 or 7 lineups with Brandon Matthews tomorrow. So that's what I'm going with down low. And now let's go ahead and catch up on chat. And then we'll talk about a little bit of our strategy. Next house says, who's the cheapest person you'll play? Hopefully that answers your question, Brandon Matthews. Catch Me If You Can says, can't play or Rose. It'd be can't play for me. Love myself some can't play, that's for sure. And Catch Me If You Can also says, Brooks said in his presser today that he hit his irons like shit. Hey, well, it didn't look like shit to me. If he thinks that's shit today and he went out there and scored like you did, imagine what he does tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm all in on Brooks Koepka at this point. Like, just, and especially if he's saying that he hit his irons like shit today. I mean, I would have taken that in a half. Like, are you kidding me? If he went out there, was hitting shots to 5 feet, he hit a 270-yard 6-iron today to 12 feet, made an eagle. I mean, he drove a par 4 with a 3-wood today. I don't know what Brooks Koepka's on. Honestly, I have no idea what type of drugs he's taking if he thinks he had a bad day there. Mighty's Helmet says, LOL, Minwoo Lee. I just put a couple of dollars on him before joining the stream. The call comes back from 8, makes a 3-way playoff Sunday. That'd be crazy. if he ends up winning, dude, yeah, you're going to have a Minwoo Lee jersey. You're going to have to, call him you're going to be a Minwoo Lee fan club if he ends up winning at that number. But that's all I've got here for the stream, guys. Going to cut it there. Obviously went through everything I wanted to. If you're watching this on replay and you do have any questions, as always, feel free to go ahead and toss them down in the comments. I'll get to them when I see them. And we're going to have another live stream tomorrow night. So don't have to deal with the cut line. Expect the round to end a little bit earlier than what we had today. So instead of 9:15, probably going to go live right around 8 p.m. Eastern time. So look forward to that. I will let you guys know on all of my social media when that'll happen. So make sure you are following on there to get all of the latest updates. But best of luck with all of your lineups here for Saturday, for Sunday, for 4-round. Any outright bets that you have, it's shaping up to be a pretty epic weekend.